All right.
Round of applause.
Come over to
All right. How are we feeling, guys, today? Did you have a good time? The audience, did you have a good time? Yes, yes. Energy, more energy. I understand we're in the Baltic states, but like, guys, let's at least pretend. Yeah, so hi, my name is Marija, and I'm one of the general partners at a Outlast fund, which is a pre-seed and seed fund located in both Riga and Stockholm. So we invest in the Baltic states, primarily in the super early inception type of founders, but then opportunistically we also target the Nordics. And I'm also one of the co-creators of the local hackerspace called Shipyard. We had the very first experiment batch graduating last night. Yay for that. Building energy was there, definitely. And we hope to see many more operators and founders applying for this momentum. But let's focus on the hacker houses, and today I have two wonderful ladies who's done a lot in the larger kind of European space within this sector. As already mentioned by Louise, this hacker house phenomenon has been just quite recent one, yes, and then maybe let's take a step back and understand a bit more. How has it evolved? Like, what was the inception point, and then how we see it, the trend now going into different countries and yeah, and just like evolving. So let's start maybe with you, Soo Min, and then Jade can follow up on that.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of funny. I think in the US it's been an established practice for a long time to have hacker houses. I think the really well-known ones like the Residency, like all of these great initiatives, I think like honestly the people in the US are great at doing marketing and they're great at showcasing what they actually do. We're a bit, I would say, scrappy on our end, not as good as marketing. But I do think that now we've kind of grown to become a part of the European hacker house ecosystem. When I think about like sort of the evolution of it, like there's quite a few all over the place, right? So you have in the Nordics like Freight, and then of course you have like, you can't really call it a hacker house, I guess, but you have like Founders House, you have like Base Space, like spaces like Shipyard as well, of course, where people are working together and sort of like co-creating together in the same space. Freight is a bit different in the sense that they have a hotel, so that people can actually sleep there and live there, I think, for like 3 months. And then you've got like Tech Europe, which is based in Berlin. You have Pluto House in Paris. We're also technically based in Paris, but we've been popping up all over Europe. And then there's quite a few here and there. I've also heard of like a lot of scrappy hacker houses where founders tell me like, yeah, I did a hacker house this weekend. And I'm like, whoa, okay, how many founders? And like 3. And I'm just like, oh, but that's still, you know, it's very cool. And I think they rent a space together and they live together and work together. So it's been a constant kind of community initiative. I feel like it comes from a place, at least in Europe, where there wasn't a place for people to meet together and work. And I think a co-working is sort of one step, but then to actually live with people, get to know people on a very deeply personal level. Like, I'm also a VC as my full-time role, by the way. Pluto House is sort of something I do on the side, but also very much deep in my heart. We rarely get to meet people for more than 30 minutes at a time, maybe like that times like 5 or something, but living with people, eating with people, getting to know people at a very personal level is super rare. So I think that's why, yeah.
Maybe just to follow up on that, like the fact that obviously this building part has enabled like a lot more driven teams to move fast, and that also kind of required a different mentality. And I kind of like, if I look back when I started in startups, right, like 10 years ago, it was the rise of the batches, like so many accelerators popping up, and I feel like we are living in these cycles, and that kind of goes together with the technological shift in general. So I think we're just like, we've lived through a decade now. It was cool to have batches, you know, in 2015, and then at 2020 we're like, oh, we're so past batches, like no one needs this, like we're gonna all raise like hundreds of millions of dollars, and just like Europe is so much more ahead of this, kind of emerging, right? And then now we're back at it because there's a new energy for building.
100%. I have to actually admit that Project Europe's not a hacker house, but we're so excited about the Hacker House movement and the work that you guys are doing at Shipyard, at Pluto House. I had definitely one of the best 4 days in terms of spending time with talent in Europe in February at the Robotics Pluto House with Soo Min and Christian, because there is a normalization of ambition and excellence that happens in person, on the ground, with a group of people that go very deep into building in a specific vertical. And actually, I think it's the part that we're most excited about in terms of the specific part of technology that each hacker community or the house that you put on for a week or for a month, the timelines of actually being able to build things and turn things around are just becoming obscenely fast with AI now, that you can spend a week building in robotics with the best 25 builders and founders from across the world that come together and create this density. So selfishly, I should say, because we're not actually doing this work, we're sort of coming in and knocking at your door and wanting just to hang out. I think I sent Soo Min a message and said, I won't be weird, just can I come and just join in the week and meet the people and see what's being built, where the energy is. And I think that the final thing on this, and why we're particularly excited about it with Project Europe, is that you have, just as you were saying, Marija, you don't have like this idea of a factory where everybody comes in at the same point and the same age and with the same idea of an outcome. Actually, that's not really the case. You have a load of different divergent people, builders, founders at different stages of what they want to build that really makes for more extraordinary outcomes within hacker communities, I think. And so at Pluto, there were, and last night in Shipyard as well, you have founders building across so many different stages within their company. You had Series A founders, you had founders that were just about to apply to YC but didn't know whether they should because they didn't know whether they'd get a chance to even interview and now are going to YC two months later. And then you had operators and mentors from the Zurich ecosystem that had built and scaled companies like Anybotics, all in the same space building.
Jade, why did you guys decide to start a project in Europe? What was driving this?
To start Project Europe?
Yeah.
Fundamentally, we just have, we had a belief a year ago. It's a year, basically, this week, since we launched. And the belief was that there is an obscene amount of talent in Europe and young talent of people that have been building their life's work from quite a young age and just need the permission and the environment and the peer support, the community to essentially just say to themselves, I'm going to double down on my own conviction and belief that I can build a globally ambitious company. And that was a belief a year ago. It's very much real evidence now.
But essentially, those who don't know what is Project Europe, it's a pretty phenomenal project in general. You have been backed by some of the greatest VCs out there now in Europe. 20 VC, the likes of so many unicorn founders in Europe. So essentially, from my perspective, it's just all of us in Europe now starting to kind of hold hands and help each other to build these dense communities that are popping up across Europe, because we feel that it's time to build, and if we are not now jumping on this train, we might miss it. And then obviously it always requires a village to build something, and I feel this energy, a lot more kind of deal sharing is happening, a lot more party rounds are happening. We are betting hard that we can build from Europe global companies, and some of them are being built in the hacker houses. So maybe let's untap a day in a hacker house so people would understand. What is happening there? We are building something, there's a lot of founders, blah, 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 but how does the shipping work?
Oof, that's
Go for it.
Because we were talking you have to ship weekly, right? In a shipyard, we are also all of these super fast cycles.
Yeah.
Either you deliver on a weekly basis, or you don't have it in you, or maybe that's not the wrong, not the right idea you're working on. Then you have to pivot. So it has to happen fast, because there is no moat these days for any of the AI application, especially type of companies, rather than speed. And if you don't have the speed, then you're
Yeah, that's true. I think like, okay, so a day in a hacker house and like sort of what goes on. There's like the glamorous version and then there's the not so glamorous version. The glamorous version, when I talk to people about my hacker house, I say like we were backed by the biggest VCs in Europe, like Cherry, Alaya, Daphne, our friends at NEA, who I think are here today as well, Extantia, Transition, like all these folks, like they back us and they believe in us and they trust in this crazy scrappy project.
And that's like most of Europe's VC capital. Like, you basically said it all. Like Pluto is backed by basically everyone.
All of these exciting folks, like for some reason, trusting in me, Christian and Yang, three of us building this. And of course, like folks at Project Europe that come and join the party and like, of course, have a really great time with us. Like all of our corporate partners as well, like Google, AWS, NVIDIA, as well as Anthropic, who really trusted us from the beginning. And, by the way, like, I remember when I sold this to people by the third time.
When was that? 2021?
We started this in July 2025.
2025.
So not even a year ago. And the first group ran in July. We had another second group run in November. And then the third one, which was a robotics vertical, was in Zurich in February. And by the third one, I think when we were selling the idea, like it just seemed so, like the sponsorship closed so fast. And most people involved in this were sort of like, oh, man, of course I'll be involved. This sounds really great. But when we were first starting out, last year in July, I can't believe this. In some ways, I can't believe Cherry believed in us. Because I was just like, it's just me, Christian, and Yang just going like, we're selling you this dream, right? And we don't know actually what it's going to look like. And for full disclosure, I just gave you the very glamorous, like these are the people that back us. These are the things that, the people you can meet and the things you can see. The not so glamorous version is that the first house that we did in July was sweltering heat in Paris, 39 degrees. We rented a house in one of the most sketchiest neighborhoods in Paris.
So it was not Station F.
No, we were not at Station F then. The second house was in Station F, but this first one, it's in like, for those who know Paris, like it was in like an area called Vitry, which is a bit sketchy. We're bringing people from the US, we're bringing people from China, we're bringing people from all over Europe, and we're just like, welcome to Paris. And, but they all still trusted us, like, and people from our first house, like, they still text us all the time, and they still tell us, like, we're here because of you, and honestly, like, we tell them, no, we're here because of you. The first people that believed in us are the real ones that believed us, because the ones that came after, like, of course, I love them all, but the thing is, like, they came to us after there was a bit more glamour in us, right? But the first people that trusted in us were truly like the scrappy, I would say. And I mean, like even like I think Crane was part of that batch as well. And I remember like when the Crane VC came and they were just like, it's like really hot in here, like 40 degrees. We had no AC, by the way, and they're just like sweating. And we all just got into t-shirts and like we all have sweat stains, like really ugly, right?
But we have the belief.
Yeah, but they have
But we have the belief.
And I cooked like homemade, just scrappy lentil soup, I think. And people still ate, were happy. So that's sort of like the unglamorous version. And like, again, like the robotics edition, like I think we made quite a lot of noise on LinkedIn, and I think people see like the kind of beautiful pictures and like, the arms, and Mimic were with us, and you can see the Mimic arms, and that was so cool. But then, I mean, I think Jade also saw the behind the scenes, like me running around, cooking for 30 people every single meal. Every single meal,
amazing.
Lunch and dinner. And
it was like literally the same. Like when we moved into Shipyard, there's one bathroom that was not working, and it was still not working yesterday when we had the event. And then like obviously it's me and my co-creators who are doing everything, stitching up IKEA furniture, just like to make sure that we have the bare minimum for the founders to live in. But I think that's part of it. As soon as you are comfortable, that's it.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
it. If you want to build, you have to be uncomfortable. And I feel like, and I think this is the essence of the hacker houses, because I think we've been like too comfy in Europe for a while. Too comfy, like, these bigger offices, kind of, glamorous co-working spaces, just like too comfortable. And that's essentially, where the hacker houses are coming from. You gotta make them feel not comfortable. That's it.
Yeah. There is also just like the storytelling part of it with that. You both basically just shared amazing stories about Shipyard and Pluto and the different people that have been a part of it, and right from the beginning. When you bring lots of strangers together, all with like similar levels of enormous ambition and just want to be creative and build.
Yep.
How cool to then have all these like weird stories to share with one another. They then take home to their ecosystems and their friends, and they're going like, Soo Min was basically cooking for 40 people for 3 days whilst there were like robot arms and then live like GPUs and compute, and Shipyard was turned into a club last night, and normally it's like just a hacker space with one bathroom for the whole space. Like, these stories are, they're the magic and the gift that you give to people, that actually there's a huge sense of pride of being a part of something that is scrappy and new and fun and silly and playful.
Jade, how do you select these founders? Like, now Project Europe is obviously like scouting all across Europe, right? You have some sense of kind of targets. So all the founders below 25 is what you're going after. So this is it, like essentially investing in kids, which I very much support. I also have some kids in the portfolio. But then, like, how does your founder selection work?
Yeah, my friends and family at home think it's there. Like, they find it very funny because when I left uni, I was like, oh, I'm done with the stage of life where I have to convince like 18, 19-year-olds to be my friend, and it's like definitely my entire life now. So we back really talented, earnest, and ambitious young people under the age of 25 building. Across
Do you see your thesis changing a bit, or it's just like the talent that you're spotting?
Big time. When we first started a year ago, we thought Kitty, like my partner in crime in this and the person that brought me into Project Europe, we really thought that the founders that we'd back would be mainly from the UK, France, and Germany, to be honest. And it has not been the case at all. We've backed 20 companies in the first year. They come from 22 different nationalities across Europe. We've got one in the UK, one in France, one in Germany, and the rest are in the Baltics, Balkans, and Eastern Europe, Serbia. And then the other challenge to the thesis we had at the beginning is the hardware element as well. So a lot of our founders aren't building for fast shipping. They're building because they've been building since they were 14 years old in the race in physical AI. Like Alex, one of our founders, builds robots in Athens, never been to university, comes from Thessaloniki, and building full-scale humanoids now. At 16, when ChatGPT 2 came out, and his father's a fisherman up in Thessaloniki and had always been playing around with PCBs, he was like, shit, like I've like lost the AI race. Like GPT-2's out. I'm going to have to build in physical AI. He's never built with another engineer in his life before, and he built. I mean, we've seen the humanoid in Athens. It's absolutely beautiful. He's built the arms, legs, full like motor control, data sets, and with less than like $50,000. And people like Alex are the people that Project Europe is there to like find and build with.
But do you believe, guys? Well, you also just recently did like a robotics batch, right, in Zurich. Maybe some of the reflections there, because nowadays, I guess, like if we're talking about these dense communities, then it would make sense to maybe like if we spot the talent, let's say I don't know, a Latvian robotics PhD, I don't know, and then like ship him to Zurich right away and plug him into some of these kind of ongoing processes. I think that would really like escalate in general. So how do you feel about mixing up these communities, and do you see it happening?
I mean, for us, our first two batches were general. So we had the first two houses were generalist. We had a mix of all kinds of folks. We actually did have a couple of robotics founders. We had people building in e-commerce, so like agentic commerce. We had people also building in climate, so like there was an energy company. Really proud to back them. They're now at YC actually now. And then we had like a couple of folks even doing just like logistics. Like we had a really broad mix for the first two batches. I originally have a hardware background. Like I worked in commercializing hardware previously, so it kind of I always did wonder, like, would we be able to circle back to potentially backing more hard tech founders? Christian, me, and Yang had been talking about this for a long time. And then with the third batch, we felt confident enough to sort of dig a bit deeper into what we were passionate about, which was hard tech and deep tech. So the third batch, it was a bit of an experiment. We usually do like a 1-month edition, so people live with us for 1 month, build with us for 1 month. We help them raise rounds, and by the end, the goal is that they close their rounds, get term sheets, or go to the next. In some cases, that's YC.
How long is the residency? So you expect them to get term sheets by when? Like a month, 1 month of residency?
Like they stay with us for a month, and then like after the months that follow, we would hope that that would happen, right? And a lot of the first and second batches, there was like a mix of term sheets, closed rounds, all of that. And then like the second batch, we had the first YC goer, Condor Energy, which is an energy company from France. And then the third batch, then when that was the moment we were like, we're going to double down on doing hard tech and deep tech. And so we did robotics, and it was extremely experimental. We don't usually do the non-1-month format, but we did a 1-week format in Zurich, of all places as well, outside of our home turf, which is usually Paris. And yeah, it was, I don't know, it was like the best bet that we made, actually. And I really missed hardware. It was really nice to get in touch with folks building in hardware. They're just a really different vibe, like hard tech founders from, I would say, like the SaaS founders. Not that there's anything better or worse, but it's just a very different vibe. And I think also, like, the evidence is there that there's interest in Europe, because after that house in February, and I was telling Kitty and Jade about this, it's kind of crazy, but it's not even been a month, and we've had 3 founders get term sheets. We've had 2 founders close their pre-seed rounds, and we've had 1 founder go to YC.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I mean, like the outcomes speak for themselves. Like,
yes.
If this is not working, I'm not sure like what is working.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hope so, right? But yeah, so it was really great, and we're going to be doing an industrial manufacturing edition in Munich in May. So if you're building in the industrial manufacturing edition, please do apply. Applications are still open. But yeah, we're just really doubling down in that segment.
Yeah. I think we had actually one Project Europe founder join the robotics house with Soo Min and Christian Yan in February, Agnesa, who's building in BCIs for robotics in different applications. And Agnesa's from Trondheim in Norway and has been building in robots and I guess like, yeah, BCI technology since she was about 16. She said when she left your week that was like the closest flow state she had to what she would have dreamed of when she was starting out, age 18, if university looked like that for the type of building she was doing. She's a solo founder. She just hired her first ML engineer yesterday, founding ML engineer. But that was, and I saw it when I was there. I think there is something very cool about, there's so many different technological applications now and different founders. You're just talking about like SaaS founders over deep tech, like hard tech founders, creating a space where we're not just saying, let's like bring the best engineers and have a hackathon and do things quickly in 24 hours and create lots of media from it and maybe lots of noise and have fun. It's actually instead, let's bring the best people that are obsessed with this specific thing right now and this capability that's bringing like a new appreciation for the different types of founders in tech we actually have in Europe. So yeah, I'm just like the biggest fan of
I think a lot of like co-mentoring as well is really important for us. So like when I think about how we recruit our batches, like when we say no ego, we genuinely mean no ego. Like, I mean, I'm a VC and I'm in the kitchen cooking meals for people. I really don't care. I'm actually cleaning after some people as well sometimes. I've had to.
I can vouch for that.
I've had to take out people's trash many times. But I truly mean no ego in the sense that like some of our batches, we've had guys that are like 50. We've had founders that are 50 that flew all the way from New York. They have kids, and they still came to found with us with like a room sometimes with 20-year-olds, right? And share a bedroom with them, like literally have beds next to each other. The thing is, like, we want people that are no ego. We want people that are just wanting to build and ship great products. And also beyond that, give co-mentoring time. So like we also provide world-class mentorship. Like we had, like for example, for the robotics edition, we had like Anybotics, we had Roboco, and like all these like big legacy companies that do robotics in Zurich. But we want the batch to also co-mentor each other, and that's what's really important for us. So we had one of the guys, Martin, really great guy in the batch from Sweden. he was the founder of a company before. He had a really successful company in Sweden before, and I was a bit like, oh my gosh, but like, wouldn't he feel really like weird about coming to this house with some people they're just fresh out of university? But he learned so much from just being with young people as well, because he was like, okay, but I'm not that great at coding, and I'm actually not that great at this kind of thing. And he would just sit down with people and be like, hey, I actually suck at this. Like, can you actually teach me how to do this? And then he would, in exchange, give them a bit of time, like talking about his kind of like an entrepreneurship journey before, how he would negotiate with investors, like what's important when considering a round, what does it even mean to do like a pro rata when your investor eventually invests in you, and all this kind of stuff. So like that is, I think, what we really optimize for. We don't want just a batch of like really intelligent people. You can have like 10 Steve Jobs, but they can all basically run around and kill each other, right? Because they just hate each other. They're just like, you're driving me crazy. But we want also a batch that's cohesive. We want people that also work together, gel together, that they're building in the same vertical. But ultimately, they also truly feel the sense of like, it's not just about what I'm building, it's bigger than that. It's about also building an ecosystem. It's about building a better Europe, you know, tech for Europe, right? Which we've all been singing songs about, but it's never really happened. So like people that genuinely feel like, yeah, like I could give 10 minutes of my time to this 20-year-old guy, and he can give me like 30 minutes of his time to me as well. So that's honestly how we optimize for batches. And I've had people ask me like, yeah, but like, I come from Harvard and I have this and this and this. How come you didn't take me? And I'm like, well, you're great individually. I don't deny that. And you're probably going to be highly investable. And we then, of course, refer them to like other investors or other groups that might be wanting to capture that person. But for us, that batch synergy is super, super important.
Then essentially, like obviously, like hacker houses is nothing new. Like the mindset within the hacker houses is nothing unique. It's the same old thing, but just like repackaged in a sense to make people believe that they can build big things from Europe with great ambition. And this is exactly the type of environment we are trying to make for these people, because we felt like the density really matters. And then because showing up for each other is nothing new. It has always been there. Mentorship obviously is nothing new, but what's changed is the way how we can build things and how fast we can really, you know, check the market if there is some kind of product fit, like that you can do a lot more faster. And that's why I think like our main message here is that we would love to encourage all of you to join a community like this, to feel the kind of the energy in those spaces, because it's something different. And it kind of catches you, and then it's like a virus that spreads, hopefully, you know, much larger than we are. And I think, yeah, it's just about the ecosystem building in the AI era. No one knows how this will play out, and that's the best part of it. And we're still at the very early stage. The adoptions level are not that high. We are talking about all the time AI, right? For a couple of years, it's already like stigma and like a fatigue. But then once we go out from the bubble, nothing is happening there. Adoption level for enterprise is super low. There's such a huge opportunity still to unlock all of this. And if someone is telling you that the best part, like the best companies in AI have already been backed or have already been built, that's a lie. No one knows how this will play out. And yeah, it's just, I think it's no point to follow these predictions. Better to kind of show up, roll your sleeves, and understand, you know, how to do quick prototypes and then ship it.
It's also just like the best work in the world. It's just so much fun. Like bringing exuberance to these things and having, genuinely just having fun in the week. Like I felt like I know I wasn't shipping and building at Pluto House with my robot arms, but I made friends. And yeah, it's something Kitty and I talk about all the time with Project Europe, like bringing playfulness and like just joy to the whole process of what we're doing is so important. Like we've released a really silly video today for
what kind of video?
Very silly video.
Oh, silly video.
It's called Project Barcelona. We want to do the spring break, but for Europe. Big hackathon in April. If anyone's going to be anywhere near it, please come and get involved. But our point for the week is that we're going to be there all week. So it's not necessarily a hacker house because we won't live with each other, but it's for builders, for Spain's ecosystem. We're going to co-work and live, and at the end we'll have a sort of mini hackathon for 20 hours overnight. But we're going to have like tapas evenings. We'll have partners that have built companies, have exited, have just started, all sitting around hanging out, and it happens to be on the beach in Barcelona, and actually, like, only Europe can do that. And so maybe we're just maybe the fun is just contagious, and we've drunk too much of it.
In the US, it's all about longevity. In Europe, it's, oh, let's have fun, drink some coffee, eat some croissant.
Yeah, but you can do them in, I think there's a way of having that energy and that uniqueness whilst also having huge ambition and surrounding yourself with the most talented people for a certain amount of time and bringing the density together. It's certainly something that, this is a long game. So having fun and having good, kind, exuberant people around you is really, really important.
But totally agree. It's the time when to be playful for sure. But then again, I think we can't forget that time is running out as well. Like you have to put yourself in specific time frames to understand whether or not this is flying, and that's kind of why the residencies are for. So to go through different types of cycles to understand if this sticks or it doesn't, and then see how to move it further. And then, like we've been talking about why the hacker spaces are, what's the value behind them? But have you seen, like, I don't know, for people maybe trying to put up something like similar, like what hasn't worked?
What hasn't worked? It's a good question. I think what we did learn is that people really enjoy being in the same vertical together, actually. What did work for the robotics house was that everyone was building in robotics. Of course, everyone was building different things, different applications. Like some were actually even building software, some were actually just doing pure hardware as well. But I think the community feeling, but also like the co-mentorship is just so much stronger, of course, when you're in the same vertical. When we did our general houses, there was a lot of really good traction in terms of, I mean, like we also had to show traction to be able to continue as a brand as well, right? So there was a lot of good traction, but I would say the feedback we got from the people in the house was like, yeah, but like we got like co-mentorship for maybe raising rounds or like kind of like more general themes, but it wasn't really about what we're exactly building. And that's the only mentorship that they had got more, because we would find them also individual mentors. They would each have a personalized mentor that's either an exit founder or like a unicorn founder from that vertical that they were building in. And that's the only person that they would kind of bounce off of. But the people that they were living with were not necessarily from the same vertical. So I think that was a big learning for us. And this is also why we're doubling down on this vertical kind of format in Munich with the industrial manufacturing. So that's something I learned. I think another thing that I learned is that there's the plan and then there's the reality, to be honest. Like sometimes you think, oh, like, you know, it's going to run really smoothly and like the event is going to be like this and there will be this kind of people coming and all that. But eventually, like, I think you just have to accept that that is beyond your control. And then you just need to just learn to let go and focus on the founders that are in the house, and then whatever happens around you, that will happen on its own time. And I think like learning to let go, and I guess like there was some ego in me. I had always thought that I had no ego because I was sort of like, yeah, you know.
What do you mean with that?
Like, I mean, because like, you know, like I always had thought like being no ego was like, yeah, I take out the trash and like all this kind of like low task. But at the same time, I think there was still this person in me that was like, I hope that this is successful somehow, right? Like, because
but do you have like a business model behind this from Pluto perspective?
We do, but
you do.
I can't reveal it just yet. Sorry, like I mean, like essentially,
there is
like,
a plan. There is a plan.
There's a plan. Yeah. So this is going to be, I think, a bit clearer starting June. From July last year, essentially, it was purely no equity, no
but
cost.
It's like there's like only two tracks. Either you become a VC or you do a sweat equity thing. And then if you're doing a sweat equity thing, then you have to like probably do a bit more than a house.
Yeah, I mean, let's see.
That's the reality. I don't see anything else. Like maybe like you can take parts of the revenue Wednesday, or like some kind of percentage of the funds raised.
Yeah, I mean it'll be made a lot clearer, I think, as things go forward. But yeah, like I promise, it will come more clearly when the time comes. It's just that right now, like, there's some things that we can't discuss quite yet, and also things that are going to be in the pipeline just now that I can't really reveal. But yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting things to come, is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, also like just super random, but like kind of insane that there's 3 women on the stage talking about hacker houses, don't you think?
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely thought it would just be like bros talking on stage about this, but we're from 3 different things.
No,
pretty
like
leading
ecosystem
things.
has always been about mothership. So,
Yeah.
so like ecosystem builders always are like females, always, and it's a gift and a curse at the same time, I would say.
Yeah, it seems like.
Because if there would be unicorn founders, obviously there wouldn't be females. So that's just how it's out. Mothership all the way through. Although we have money, so that's already better.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no.
All right. Yeah, so maybe some of the kind of future predictions. Where are the companies these days coming out from these hacker houses then headed towards? How do you see kind of the next steps, these batches like 5 years from now?
Yeah, it's a good question.
No one has thought about it.
I have a question actually for you. You guys actually run the hacker houses. One of my biggest questions of the next 5 years with how this evolves is the way. So you have something like Pluto, which brings a maximum together into a certain area and uses that ecosystem and builds with that ecosystem for a certain amount of time. And then you have the shipyards of the world that are consistent in their ecosystem and provide permission and alternative to the other routes of pursuing your ambition and give like the most talented young people a place and a home to exist in that way. So, I mean, it's gonna. My question is, how will the constant hacker houses that exist all year round continue to communicate with each other from across like cultures and ecosystems in Europe? You see it with ESRA, the European Student Robotics Association, I think that launched yesterday. 2 amazing students from Zurich, and they've answered that question to an extent, with the topic being how do we connect
These, how do we create like a network effect?
Exactly. How do we pull it up and go, yes, we've got like maximums within ecosystems, but how do we use
That's
the
a good
28th,
Yeah.
you know, Europe strength?
That's a great question. I think that's the thing that we've been spending probably most of our time doing at Pluto. We tell people that we are a European hacker house, and we truly are. Our batches are fully mixed. We have people coming from all over Europe. I think every single batch has been 15 plus nationalities all over Europe. There's like a couple of wild cards that come from the US or China that tell us that they actually want to build a business in Europe, and then we take them in because then they're incorporated in Europe. But all over the place. And the thing is, like when Christian and I, so Yang works at an AI startup in Berlin. Christian works at Daphne, I work at Node. These are our full-time jobs. Technically, Pluto is our part-time thing, even though we spend a lot of time on it. Christian and I spend, I would say, I think him and I like cover a lot of European network just from being in VC. And that's where we spend a chunk of our time essentially just connecting our founders that are already from diverse parts of Europe with other parts of the ecosystem. So for example, the folks at Condor Energy, who are French, very French, by the way, like with like thick French accents, they went to YC, and then like we helped them through the YC application process, all of that. They got a bunch of term sheets before going to YC, and then even that was like a whole negotiation, bringing in other term sheets from like the Nordics, like bringing in other term sheets from Germany, like even though they're from France, and the French ecosystem is notably a very closed ecosystem. That's a huge chunk of our work, and that's where I spend most of my time. So that's something that we've really been wanting to do. We've been wanting to bring different funders from different European ecosystems to reach us and meet founders from all over Europe, and that has diversified a lot of cap tables here. So like when I told you early on about the term sheets that have been coming in, and when I've been talking about also just like rounds being closed, these are extremely diverse rounds. Like this is not just like a French startup closing a French fund. This is like a French startup maybe closing like a German and a Swedish fund, right?
I think it,
so that's a chunk of our work, yeah.
And obviously it makes sense, but then zooming in, there's like for example, we at Shipyard, we don't have the ambition like that. We have the ambition to work with the local talent that we have, to propel it, to make sure that we have these kind of next generation companies being built from here.
And then work with us.
And then exactly, and then like how do we build these bridges between the hacker houses themselves? Because one thing is to kind of work pan-European, make sure that there's a pan-European term sheet, kind of I don't know, like some kind of scheming happening on the side, right? But then like how do we make sure that all of us are, exchanging deals, keeping track, kind of, and I think that's another kind of thing. But then someone has to come in with this vision to build the bridges, and maybe you guys could do it.
Maybe you can do it. Yeah, exactly.
I think that's
Barcelona.
I think this is Project Europe's kind of
their bread and butter.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's your
exactly.
job.
Yeah.
But I mean, to be fair, we do actually talk a lot between us.
Yeah, of course we do. But then
I
maybe
mean, like,
a bit more systematic approach could probably fit, because
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
also not my full-time job, it's not your full-time job, but
Yeah.
then like
It is my full-time
and the
job.
network.
It is your full-time job.
Exactly. Yeah. And,
Yeah, no, exactly. I
There
mean,
has
like,
to be.
I think like it happens like accidentally, right? Like, I mean, for example, like our first 2 batches, we had freight founders there. So people that had left freight after 3 months there, and then they joined us to close their rounds. And I mean, like I think like also when I was talking to Marija, and I was just kind of like, we were talking about the first batch, and I was like, oh, maybe there is someone who can join us. Like I was asking her about the industrial manufacturing edition. I think I asked a bunch of different hacker houses in Europe, like we're doing this industrial manufacturing edition in Munich. Like please let us know if there's anyone that would like to spend a week in Munich, right? But I agree with you. It's not like a systematic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think with that we are out of time. But ladies, it's been super fun to have you here. Excited to see what we all do in the next steps, and thank you for showing up, and thank you for doing what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you to the audience for listening to this. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.